What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a guitar for all of you Tonewood purists. It's made out of aluminum, or aluminium, as you may say if you drive on the wrong side of the road. It is made by a company called Pearson Guitars in New Zealand, and it is a very interesting piece. It is made from a bunch of water-jetted pieces of aluminum, then constructed into a guitar. It has no peg head. It has tuners down here. It has two humbuckers and coil splits and a three-way switch and a volume and a tone. And it is a completely different approach to how guitars are made. It weighs about exactly the same as a regular electric guitar, right around 6.5 pounds, 7 pounds. It is a little thicker. We'll get into that. And it sounds like an electric guitar. I am not going to go through a whole bunch of processes and tell you about clean tones and all that stuff, because this guitar is so metal. You're not going to use it for that. So I don't really care. You can get in the comments and whine about that all you want. It is really cool. It sounds cool. It's neat. I would use it for lots of different things. It came really well set up out of the box. In fact, I don't know how it comes. So the reason I didn't do an unboxing live video like I normally do with these kind of guitars, or any guitar, is because it came in a box from New Zealand with the neck not on, the bridge not on, and I don't know what the retail packaging looks like, so I didn't want to mislead you and say you're going to get a guitar in a bunch of pieces and you have to put it together. I don't know if that's true or not. Let's take a walk around this thing and show you a little bit more about it. All right, so just looking at some basic features, it's funny, like this thing looks wild, but it literally is just a guitar. So looking for commonalities here first. First of all, this is just a normal, one of these normal bridges. The only thing that I would do different if I was designing this is not pinned in. So I would probably, I don't know, use one of those Epiphone styles with the little clips right here or something to keep it pinned in. That's the only change I would make there. Because of the angle also, the string does contact the back of the bridge right here. So that is on this one. So that's a little funky, but that's, he's obviously iterating here. It's pretty neat. And honestly, to tell you the truth, as it stands right now, I don't know that makes any difference. It doesn't matter at all. I don't know if it's going to cause a tuning stability issue because the string drags across here, but because the saddle is so, I don't know. It stays in tune, so I don't know that it's necessarily a big deal. The other thing is interesting is folks on Facebook were asking about how the pickups were mounted. So it's got these little metal bars right here, and they basically serve as pickup rings. There's this post that goes into the body, and then there's this one that supports the pickup on springs. So it's just a normal pickup ring. It just doesn't go all the way around, which I really actually like. I almost wonder how that could be implemented in a regular guitar, because that's really cool. And as a result of that, then the pickups sort of just float in midair, which is neat, which is what they do on a pickup ring, right? So it's basically the same thing as mounting them on pickup rings. The other thing we have over here is we have a volume and a tone, and we have coil splits for both of the humbuckers and a three-way switch. It's just a normal three-way switch, quarter-inch jack. It's pretty cool. Now the other thing that people were wondering is the overall comfort of it. Now the only thing I'll say about the comfort of it is it's a little thick this way from here to the back, okay? Just because of this construction. So I don't know if it could be thinner. I'm not sure. Like, obviously I'm not the engineer on this, and I'm not going to overthink his design. So it's a little thicker this way. It's like 335 thick, not Telecaster thick, if that makes sense. So it's not out of this world, but it's thicker than a regular solid body guitar. As far as this shape goes, it's very Strat, and it feels good when we put it on the strap. You see that it hangs right, it feels right, it sits in the lap right. You would think that you don't have anywhere to put your hand while you're playing, but it's pretty natural, actually. It's pretty wild, way more than I would have thought, which is pretty neat. So, you know, overall, it really functions as a regular guitar. Now, on the other side, we've got locking tuners. I think these are Geiger or something. I don't remember. Locking tuners, which is pretty neat. And you can see kind of all the screws in the back that hold the whole thing together, because if you'll notice here, it's a bunch of thin layers of aluminum put together, all sandwiched together. And my guess would be that is to make the control cavity manageable and usable, also creating the depth from the back of the guitar, leaving room for the tuners and leaving room for the architecture of the bridge. And then the other end of it here, we've got basically like this metal tube that sits underneath the top of the guitar, and that's where the neck screws in. And then on the other end of the guitar, we've got this metal plate here. And this metal plate's got the logo engraved in it, and it bolts onto the end of the neck. And then we've got, you know, where the strings go. Personally, I wouldn't use these because I would want all the same color. I know that's a little bit aesthetically weird. It's easy to adjust the truss rod because you can get right through there, which is pretty cool. And then the other thing is, as you saw, it still hangs on a stand. So on the strap, it's weird. The strap pin is up here instead of back here like on a normal guitar, but you can't put it there because there's no end of the guitar, and it would interfere with the tuners, right? So he puts it here, which it actually works. I mean, it's obviously there's no neck dive because there's no peg head. It balances perfect. Now, a couple of notes about this that I would do differently, I guess. Okay, so because the strap pin is in here, I would actually like to have this guitar up just a little bit higher. Not like full-on rock and roll down here, but not like full-on jazz musician up here. I would like it somewhere in between. The problem is that my style of leather strap isn't like you know what I mean? I would have to completely adjust all of this, and I don't want to do that because you can't put any slack from this behind here because there's nowhere for it to go, right? Like if I were to put this down one, there's nowhere for the tail of it to go. So that's the only downside for me. I almost wonder if you could, and it's sort of hard to get it in there. So I almost wonder if you flipped this around and put a strap lock on the outside, and then you like just strap locked it on the back. But I don't know if that would tilt the guitar forward too much. I'm not sure. As it stands right now, just with a normal adjustable strap, you could put this thing anywhere you want, and it's really cool. It balances really, really well. Now, as far as sitting with it on your lap, It's fine. It balances fine. It sits against you fine. I mean, it's more or less like like a Strat body. The only thing that is a little different, like I said, is the thickness of it. You know, I don't remember how thick it is. Hang on. So if we measure from the back of the body to the top of the fretboard, okay? Here to here. 2.12. Okay, so it's a little thicker. And then the back of the body to the top of the fretboard here. Okay, so it's a half inch. 0.45 inches thicker. So a half inch thicker is substantial when we're talking about feel stuff, right? So it's a half inch thicker this way. I wonder, I don't know if there's any way to get that any narrower. I'm not sure, but that would be really cool. The problem is you gotta have room for all of this. You gotta have room for the architecture of the tuners. You gotta have room for the offset from the bridge to the tuners to have the break angle correct. You know, there's a lot of considerations there. So, whoops. There's a lot of considerations there. So it's a little thicker, but the only kind of downside comfort-wise, I would say, is where your elbow, where your forearm sits, if you're gonna sit and play this. I'm not saying you're gonna like cut your arm or anything. It's just not what you're used to with a regular guitar. It's not uncomfortable. It doesn't like leave a dent in your arm unless you like really bear down on it for a long time. But it's not, it's just different than a, like sitting here playing with that Strat. You know what I mean? It just hits you a little different. It's not bad. It doesn't, like I said, it's not, it doesn't stand out really. It's just a little different. As far as the neck is concerned, it's just a normal Fender style, you know, it looks like a telly neck, yeah, because it's a flat back. Just a normal telly neck. And I do know that he's having the necks imported to New Zealand, and then he goes over them. I will say that there's no bad fretwork. There's no fret end sprout. There's nothing. Like, it's really, really good. The guitar plays well. All right, so when we talk about a wacky build like this, when we talk about something that we're just not used to, the very first thing is, well, how does it sound? It sounds like a guitar. Obviously, you've heard it throughout this whole thing. It sounds like a guitar. It makes a lot of sense. And people are going to say, well, it doesn't, you know, the tone of it because aluminum, blah, blah, blah. I don't know that it matters, right? Like, it's so different that there's no sense in trying to associate it with something else. Does it make a sound that you like? Then yes. Now, that being said, what is important to you about an electric guitar? Is it sustain? Is it like totally resonant, bro? Like, do you want it to? I think one of the biggest things that people wonder about with the player experience of an electric guitar is, how does it play acoustically, bro? It's fantastic, actually. I've played a lot of aluminum guitars, probably, I don't know, half a dozen different ones. That's a lot because there's not that many. I've played pretty much most of the ones that are out there that are well known, and I've never really liked them. And the reason for that is, well, this could get super nerdy, but basically they don't vibrate when you play them in your lap. And I think when we think of Tonewood and we think of the tone of an electric guitar, a lot of people are like, well, what is the unplugged tone? That's not tone. What that is do you feel it? It's very loud and totally resonant, bro, when it's in your lap, which is really down to its construction. We could get into like the modular elasticity of aluminum versus wood and all this kind of stuff. But the bottom line is it really depends on the design and the structure. And one of the things he's really done well is figured out how to transfer the real feeling of a guitar to the human body, which really has very little to do with how the guitar sounds, because we can make it sound however we want. But there's a tactile thing to that that's important, right? You don't want something dead in your hands. And this is not dead at all. I've played a bunch of aluminum guitars that were like slab body aluminum guitars that were like chambered and stuff. And the way aluminum works, the thicker it is, it changes that. But with him keeping these really thin thin aluminum plates, and then especially this back one, it just really gives you sort of a, I don't know, it gives you kind of a springy. I was telling Leslie, I took it out of the box, I started playing it with skepticism the other day, and I came back, I played it for a while, and I set it down here on the couch, and I went back in the living room, and I told Leslie, I was like, it's way more lively than I anticipated. She's like, what do you mean lively? I'm like, it just feels good to play. I mean, you might not be able to hear it through a lavalier mic, but it definitely doesn't feel the way it looks. It will feel, people in the comments on Facebook are like, well, it's going to sound totally metallic because it's metal. It's going to sound very bright. And I was making jokes about, well, if it was black, it would sound darker. But since it's aluminum, bare aluminum, it's going to be bright. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just really... Oh, that's the other thing. Did you see me come up a fret by accident? Because there's no peg head up here, it changes your reference of where you think you are. So it's a thing to get used to. Because I've not played headless guitars that much. For those of you that play headless guitars, you probably are totally fine with it. I don't know. It's really cool. Are there any cons to it? A couple. There's a couple things. Just a couple. Getting used to the thickness, and that's not really a con. It's just getting used to it, because it's a half-inch thicker. Reorienting yourself with not having a peg head and where you are on the fretboard. That's just a learning thing, not necessarily a con. The other thing, we'll get into price point later, but the fit and finish on it is definitely raw metal. Okay, so it's raw, unanodized aluminum. So if it's got some scratches in it, if it's got some, I don't know, like milling marks and all that kind of stuff in it, the pieces of metal have definitely been water jetted and not finished. So there is, I don't know if you've ever felt water jetted aluminum before, but it has a roughness to it, and it's not CNC. It's not like CNC milled. There's a difference. It's a CNC process, but it's not CNC milled. So you don't have this like perfectly machined edges to all this wood, all this aluminum wood. So you'll feel a little roughness here and there because of that, because of the process that was made. But again, we get to the price point. I don't think it matters. The other thing is, I would say that, of course, I'm going to say that I could put better pickups in it. That's because I can, because that's what we do, and that's kind of the way it is with a guitar at this price point. So I don't know how serviceable that's going to be once, because I would like to do that. I don't know how you get this apart to do that, so I'm not really sure about that. So I'm not saying that's a downside, but it's a thing you'd have to learn. And then the other thing is, there's two things: the strap pin location that we talked about, and then also the bridge not being pinned like we talked about. But I think all those things could be seen as downsides, but again, at the price point, I don't think it matters. The thing that'll blow your mind about this is $6.99. I don't know what shipping is like. I'm not sure about that. But $6.99 for a complete guitar that is totally unique and super cool like this, I just think it's super fascinating. You can, and I'm not sure exactly what the discount is or how that works, but if you put Dylan in the discount code, I think that does something for you. And it definitely helps us out on the channel if you use the code Dylan in the discount code. I can't remember that from the email, but this is really, really neat. It's a really neat guitar. I'm really impressed with it. I like the way it looks. Of course, that's going to be polarizing for everybody. And for $6.99, I think it is. This is one of those guitars that I say is for the guitar player who has everything. You know, like if you're just interested and you think it's cool. But even if you're like a more traditional guitar player, if you're somebody who has, you know, a Tele and a Strat and a whatever, at this price point, I think you can afford to grab one of these and have something totally different. That's super unique and definitely you just use it differently. Super, super cool stuff. I really like this a lot. Check it out. There will be a link in the description. Like I said, you can use code Dylan. If you have questions about it, get in the comments. I think it's something really, really cool. And do me a favor, like and subscribe and hit the bell so that you know when we come out with the next video. I don't know how crazy it is going to be in comparison to this one, but this is pretty wild.